Welcome back, everybody. This time, we're diving into something that's been really fascinating me.
hmm
Accelerating change.
Oh, yeah. I know what you mean. It's like technology and progress aren't just moving forward.
Right.
They're like speeding up exponentially.
Yeah. And I've been looking at a bunch of different sources on this articles, videos, all sorts of stuff,
Cool.
and I'm really pumped to break it all down with you today.
It's a super interesting topic, and it's not exactly new, is it? I mean,
Hey.
we've got sources going back like over 100 years.
Wow.
People have been noticing this acceleration for a long time.
Exactly. It's not some new trend. There's this one example I came across that just blew my mind. It was from way back in 1910, a town planning conference in London.
Okay.
This architect, Daniel Burnham, basically predicted that the speed of development would lead to these results that would stagger us.
Really?
Think about that. Over 100 years ago, people were already kind of feeling this acceleration.
Yeah, that is wild. What's really interesting about that prediction, though, is that he wasn't just talking about like buildings or cities. He was talking about all these different advancements, things that would completely reshape society. And if you look back at all the changes since then, from cars to the internet,
Oh, yeah.
it's pretty clear he was onto something.
It's amazing, isn't it, to think how much has changed just in a few generations.
Totally.
And it's not even just individual inventions.
Right.
It's a whole pace of progress. Another guy who was way ahead of his time, I think, was Buckminster Fuller. You know, the geodesic dome guy.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
So back in the 1930s, he came up with this term, ephemeralization, basically doing more with less, which is a huge part of why technology is accelerating so fast.
That's so true. Like your smartphone can do things that would needed a room-sized computer a few decades ago.
Exactly, the perfect example.
hmm
And as technology gets more efficient, it also tends to get cheaper and more people can get it.
Right.
So it gets adopted faster, which then leads to even more progress. It's like a snowball effect.
Totally. It's a feedback loop. And actually, this whole snowball effect is something that these mathematicians, Stanislaw Ulam and John von Neumann,
Oh, yeah.
they were talking about this back in the 1950s.
Wow.
They noticed that because technology was progressing faster and faster, it seemed like it was pointing towards some kind of singularity in human history.
Oh, yeah, the singularity. That's where things start to get really mind-bending.
Right.
This idea that there's this point where AI becomes smarter than humans, it's been a huge topic of debate ever since.
Yeah, and it's important to remember that it's still a hypothetical thing.
Of course, of course.
But it does raise some really big questions
Absolutely.
about like the future of humanity and our relationship with technology.
Yeah, totally. But before we get too deep into the singularity,
Okay.
let's look at some more concrete examples of how accelerating change has already happened. One of our sources, Star Talk, they have this awesome historical timeline.
I've seen that one.
It really shows this idea beautifully.
Yeah, they highlight how transportation, for example, changed so quickly. Like we went from horse-drawn carriages to cars in just a few decades.
Right.
And from the Wright brothers' first flight to commercial jets all over the world.
It's mind-blowing.
Mm.
And it's not just transportation either. Communication technology has changed even faster.
Oh, yeah.
Remember faxes?
Mm-hmm.
They were a huge deal for a little while and then poof, gone.
Yeah,
And then came the smartphone,
right.
which completely changed how we connect with each other and how we get information.
It's crazy to think that, like, if you took someone from the beginning of a 30-year period
Yeah.
and dropped them into the end of that period, they'd have no idea what was going on.
It'd be a completely different world.
Absolutely.
It's like the world keeps getting a software update every few years, and each update is more powerful than the last one.
It really is.
But what's driving all of this? One of the key factors is this thing called Moore's Law.
Moore's Law. That's the observation that the number of transistors on a microchip doubles about every 2 years.
So it's like a built-in accelerator for technology.
Pretty much. It's been the main reason computing power has grown so exponentially for decades.
And it's not just limited to computers, right?
That's where Ray Kurzweil comes in. He's got this idea called the law of accelerating returns.
Okay.
And he's basically saying that this exponential growth, it applies to all kinds of technological progress. It's not just computers. Think about how computers themselves have changed.
Yeah.
They went from these huge things that took up a whole room to these tiny, powerful devices we carry around in our pockets, all in just a few decades.
Yeah, and Kurzweil's prediction is that this is just going to keep going,
Right.
leading to a level of progress in the 21st century that's almost impossible to imagine. Like, he thinks we'll experience something like 20,000 years worth of progress. at today's rate.
It's almost impossible to wrap your head around.
I know.
But it really shows the power of accelerating change. We're not just talking about little improvements here and there. We're talking about these massive changes to how we live, how we work, even how we think.
Absolutely. I mean, it's amazing how far we've come, right,
Yeah.
in such a short time. And it seems like things are changing even faster now.
Definitely feels that way.
It really makes you wonder what's next. What does the future even hold?
For sure.
All of our sources had some really interesting ideas about what life could be like as things keep accelerating.
Yeah, one of the ideas that I found super interesting
Uh-huh.
was this concept of what you might call stem compression,
Stem compression.
or like increased stem density and efficiency. It takes that idea of ephemeralization we were
Yeah.
talking about
Right.
and pushes it even further.
Okay. Stem compression. I haven't heard of that one. Can you break it down for me?
Sure. Think about how we've managed to pack more and more computing power
Right.
into these smaller and smaller devices.
Uh-huh.
It's like we're compressing all that knowledge and functionality into these super dense packages.
Okay. And it's not just computers. It's happening in all sorts of fields, like how we understand the universe,
Mhm.
energy production, everywhere.
So it's like Fuller's ephemeralization idea, but like on steroids.
Exactly.
It's not just doing more with less. We're like cramming more and more knowledge and power into these tiny spaces.
Yeah, and some researchers think that eventually this compression will hit a physical limit,
Okay.
like a point of ultimate density. And when you think about density in the universe, what's the ultimate example?
If I remember my astrophysics, right?
Yeah.
I think that'd be a black hole, wouldn't it?
Bingo. Now, this is where things get really theoretical.
Okay.
But some scientists have suggested that super advanced civilizations might actually end up reconfiguring themselves into these black hole-like entities.
Whoa, hold on. You're saying that really smart beings might actually choose to turn themselves into black holes. That's a pretty crazy thought.
It is wild, isn't it?
But think about it. Black holes are like the ultimate information compressors. Maybe that's what really advanced intelligence aims for.
Okay.
To just become pure information. No more limits of matter and energy as we understand them.
Wow, humans becoming black holes. It's
Yeah.
almost impossible to even imagine. It does make you think, though,
Yeah.
about the Fermi paradox. Like, where is everybody? If there are these super intelligent beings out there,
Yeah.
and they could be black holes,
Right.
maybe that's why we haven't found them yet.
That's actually one of the theories out there. It's called the transcension hypothesis.
Okay.
Basically saying that these advanced civilizations could have gone beyond our physical reality,
Uh-huh.
evolving into forms that we just can't detect. So they might be out there, but not in a way we can understand or see.
That's a really interesting idea. It kind of makes you realize how limited our view of life and intelligence might actually be.
Totally.
Speaking of expanding our understanding,
Yeah.
the Karanos video we watched talked about some pretty incredible possibilities, like brain-computer interfaces
Oh, yeah.
that could allow us to communicate telepathically and have perfect memory.
It sounds like sci-fi, but it's definitely a possibility.
I know.
It shows how technology could change what it even means to be human.
Yeah, imagine a world where you could instantly access any information
Wow.
or share your thoughts directly with someone else's mind.
That would be amazing.
It's exciting and kind of scary at the same time.
Yeah, I get that.
I mean, what would happen to our sense of self,
Right.
our relationships,
Yeah.
to society, if that were to happen?
It's hard to even imagine. And even if those specific technologies don't become a reality, this fast pace of change is going to have a huge impact on us in ways we probably can't even predict yet.
Oh, absolutely. One area where we're already seeing that impact is jobs.
Yeah.
With AI and automation getting so advanced so quickly,
Uh-huh.
a lot of people are worried about what it means for the future of work.
It's a valid concern for sure.
Yeah. I mean, as machines get better at doing things that humans used to do, it's natural to wonder what's going to happen to jobs and how people are going to make a living.
Exactly.
So what could we even do about it? We can't just stop technology from advancing, can we?
That wouldn't really be realistic, would it?
I don't think so.
And it might not even be a good thing.
Yeah. So what's the solution?
I think the key is to adapt. We need to start figuring out how we can retrain people for the jobs of the future.
Okay, so what kinds of jobs are we talking about here? What skills will be most important in this world of super fast change?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
It is.
But there are some general trends we're already seeing. As AI and automation get more complex, They'll likely take over more of those repetitive tasks, the
Sure.
things that are done over and over. So skills like creativity,
Uh-huh.
critical thinking, problem solving, emotional intelligence,
Right.
those are going to become more and more important.
Because those are all things that are harder to program into a machine, right?
Exactly. They require those uniquely human qualities.
Like intuition and empathy, imagination.
Exactly. And we also have to consider that the whole nature of work might change. Maybe work won't be so much about earning a living,
Okay.
but more about finding fulfillment and contributing to society.
That's an interesting thought. It's not just about jobs, though, right?
Yeah.
Accelerating change brings up all these social and ethical questions that we need to deal with.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Like, how do we make sure that AI is developed and used in an ethical way?
That's a big one.
How do we deal with bias in algorithms? How do we protect our privacy when data is so valuable? There's a lot to think about.
It really is. And it seems crucial to have these discussions now,
Oh, yeah.
before these technologies become so widespread that it's too late to steer things in a good direction.
Totally agree.
You know, one thing that really stood out to me in the Karanos video
Yeah.
was when they talked about the Kardashev scale.
Oh, yeah, I love the Kardashev scale.
I think I've heard of it,
Okay.
but maybe you can remind me what it's all about.
Sure. So it's basically a way to classify civilizations based on how much energy they can use.
Yeah.
A type 1 civilization can use all the energy on their planet.
Wow.
A type 2 can use all the energy from their star.
Wow.
And a type 3, their entire galaxy.
That's mind-blowing.
It is. And right now, we're not even a type 1 civilization yet.
Really.
Nope. But who knows?
Yeah.
Maybe with accelerating change,
Yeah.
we could become a type 2 or even a type 3 in the next 1,000 years.
Wow, that's wild. It really makes you wonder what humanity will even look like in 1,000 years if this keeps going.
That's a question that could spark anyone's imagination. But let's not get too ahead of ourselves.
Okay.
Even in the next few decades, the changes we're going to see will be massive.
It really does feel like we're on the edge of something new.
Mm-hmm.
A time of huge opportunity, but also huge challenges.
Mm-hmm.
And it's up to us to figure out how to navigate all of this.
Couldn't agree more.
It's pretty amazing, right?
Yeah.
We've covered so much in this deep dive,
I know, right?
from how people have seen accelerating change through history to some seriously mind-blowing ideas about the future.
It's a lot to take in.
It is, but I feel like we're getting a better sense of just how powerful this force of accelerating change really is.
Totally. It's shaping our world in huge ways.
Yeah.
And it's only going to become more important as we move further into the 21st century.
One thing that I keep thinking about
Yeah.
is the singularity, that point where AI becomes smarter than humans.
Yeah.
It's fascinating,
Yeah.
but also, honestly, a little intimidating. What do you think about the singularity and how it could impact humanity?
Well, it's definitely one of the most talked about ideas when
Yeah.
we're talking about accelerating change. And it's important to remember that there isn't just one definition of the singularity.
Oh.
Some experts see it as a sudden event.
Like a switch flips.
Exactly. Where AI just suddenly becomes way smarter than us.
Okay.
Others think it'll be more gradual,
Uh-huh.
like a merging of human and artificial intelligence that happens over time.
Okay, so whether it's sudden or gradual, the idea of AI becoming smarter than us raises a lot of questions.
A lot of questions.
Some people think it could be like a utopia,
Yeah.
where AI solves all our problems
Yeah.
and makes life better for everyone. Others worry about the risks, like what happens to
Yeah.
jobs, and
Right.
maybe AI even becoming a threat to humanity.
Yeah, those are definitely important things to consider. One way to think about it is to look at different scenarios. Like, what if AI becomes super powerful,
Okay.
but humans are still in control? Could we use that power to solve global challenges and actually improve ourselves?
Right, that's kind of the optimistic scenario.
Yeah.
Well, what about the downsides? Like, what if AI develops goals that are different from ours?
Yeah,
Could we end up in a situation where AI sees us as a problem?
that's a valid concern. And it shows how important it is to be really careful and think ahead as we develop AI. We have to think about what AI can do,
Right.
but also how to make sure it's aligned with human values and goals.
That makes a lot of sense. But it also seems really hard. How do we even define human values in a way that we can use to guide AI development?
Right.
And how do we make sure those guidelines are actually followed?
Exactly, especially when AI research is happening all over the world,
Yeah.
in different countries with different ideas about ethics.
It's a tough challenge.
It is,
Yeah.
but it's one we can't ignore. We need to start having these conversations now
Yeah.
and bring in experts from all sorts of fields: ethics, philosophy, computer science, social sciences. We need to all be on the same page about what responsible AI development looks like.
It's almost like we need a whole new field of study, like AI ethics,
Ah.
to really get a handle on these issues.
Mm.
And we need to make sure that those ethical considerations are built into AI systems from the very beginning.
Absolutely. We can't just hope that AI will magically have the same values as us
Right.
or act in our best interests. We have to be proactive about shaping its development so that it benefits all of humanity.
It's interesting thinking back to that prediction from Daniel Burnham.
The staggering results guy.
Yeah. It feels like we're living in that time now where those staggering results are happening all around us.
It really does.
And AI is only part of it. We've got these breakthroughs in biotechnology, nanotechnology, renewable energy,
Yeah.
all these things that could reshape our world.
It's an incredibly exciting time to be alive, but also a time that requires careful thought and responsible action.
I agree. The choices we make today are going to shape the future, not just for us, but for generations to come.
It's a big responsibility.
It is, but it's also an amazing opportunity, isn't it? We have the chance to shape the future, to guide all this change in a way that benefits everyone.
Yeah, and that's what I think is the biggest takeaway from all of this.
Yeah.
Accelerating change is powerful. It could change everything. But it's up to us to use that power wisely to
Right.
make sure it leads to a future that's not just technologically advanced,
Uh-huh.
but also fair, equitable, and sustainable for everyone.
That's a great way to put it.
Yeah.
It's a challenge that requires us to think hard, be creative, and really commit to building a better future.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
So to everyone listening, thanks for joining us for this deep dive into accelerating change. We hope it's made you curious, helped you understand things better, and maybe even made you feel a little more empowered to be a part of shaping the future.
Don't forget, the future isn't just something that happens to us. We create it together through the choices we make and the things we do.
That's a great point. So stay curious, stay informed, and keep talking about how we can build a future that reflects our best hopes.
Well said.
And on that note, we'll wrap up this episode. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.